Hey everyone, welcome to Cyber Conversations, the show where it's okay to agree to disagree. Today, once again, we are talking about Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Vern and I had talked about it before we even started, and we wanted everyone to understand this because this is a very controversial movie, very divisive among the fans, and very divisive between Vern and I as well. So we wanted everyone to be aware. The purpose of my show has not changed. We discuss the movies and we discuss what we like and dislike about them, but we do so in a respectful way. This one was a bit more charged. We our voices got raised a couple of times, but we never got angry at each other, and we're still friends, and we still have respect for each other's views. And I also think that both he and I, uh, we brought up good points, and we conceded those points. That said, I'm trying to edit this down to be a reasonable length, but it looks like it's going to go on for a few more episodes as well. And I can't cut out too much because this was one of the most interesting conversations about Star Wars we had. Um, if you haven't already, please hit like and subscribe. And with that, I hope that you enjoy the show. That might be, but I don't get that sentiment from people who say Star Wars is dead. Since
Man,
the
I've
dead
never heard
doesn't come,
anybody say Star Wars is dead and I like it and I hope it doesn't come back. Let's kill it. I
if
don't think
something is
anybody says that.
if something is dead, it doesn't come back. The dead don't come back to
Yeah.
life.
Well,
If
yeah, I
if
just
they're
I
saying Star
disagree.
Wars is dead, they're saying that Star
I
Wars
just
cannot come back.
I
If a person,
there's
sorry,
plenty of IPs that had their moment and then they went through a whole generation of nothing and then they were resurrected. The difference is we didn't
they
start
weren't dead.
using these. No, listen, we didn't start using these absolute statements publicly in front of the whole world with a microphone that reaches every man, woman, and child on earth until recently. So that's the only difference. Just because Disney is on hold with Star Wars, just because there's nothing happening with Star Wars, just because you personally don't like the direction Star Wars is going, does not mean that it's dead. And just because, hate to break it to you, hate to ruin your religion, but just because you state on your YouTube channel that Star Wars is dead, it does not in any way mean that Star Wars is dead.
No,
So
I don't believe.
let's not be. I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's not be hyperbolic about the language. There's nothing dead about an idea. The idea lives, and then the idea continues to live. And sometimes the idea is suppressed, and sometimes the idea is great, and sometimes it's not so great. But it doesn't die. There's no way to kill Star Wars as long as it's in the public mind. And I can't think of another fantasy IP that is more in the public mind than Star Wars. There is none. I'm pretty sure that is something we can all agree on. And
Right.
so, as long as it is buried as deep as it is in the heart of humanity, it's never going to be dead. And we are probably still due to be amazed at the things that Star Wars is going to present to us in the near future, whether it's inside of Disney's control or outside of Disney's control.
Yeah, but
I know if Disney's listening to this, they don't like the sound of that. I mean, I get why. Like they have every right to not like the sound of this. We're
well,
still living off of this 20th century paradigm that like I invented it and therefore I have the only right to be able to be able to use it. And I just feel like a lot of that is getting ready. The paradigm's getting ready to inevitably change as a result of technology that is beyond any single entity's control.
well, yeah,
There's
I
going to
have
have
no idea.
there's
But
going to have to be new laws and new legislator that covers all that. And of course, some of the
uh,
biggest players are going to be the ones that have the most to lose, like Disney. So anyway, it's the wild west of entertainment getting ready to come up.
yeah, because I mean, I guarantee Disney is not going to sell. the franchise.
No, no.
Not a
And even if
chance
they,
in hell.
even if they did, it would cost at least $4 billion. And there's not that many
There's
agencies around
there's
the world
no
that have
way.
that kind of money to drop.
No, they wouldn't do it though. They would never ever do it because it means more to them sitting dormant in the vault than it does earning money for someone else.
I don't know. Are you sure about that? Do you have
Yeah,
a
they
reason why?
Disney will it doesn't want to see someone else profiting at a franchise that they attempted to do something with and failed.
Ah, okay. So there's the reason why. The reason why is because Disney could never admit that they're wrong. And that I agree with. Disney will never admit they're wrong, and they'd rather take something that we all love and murder it in front of us than admit that they were wrong and hand it to somebody that could do a better job. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. That is bullshit, and I hate it, but it's absolutely true, and I think it's undeniable.
Yeah, no matter what anyone says, like, because I think some people hate all of the new Star Wars content because they think that if they hate it enough, they think that if enough people don't watch it, that Disney will just sell it because they feel like it's not going to earn any more money.
That's
And that's
that's
absolutely
unrealistic.
not true. No,
Yeah,
the
I
truth
agree.
is that
I
if
agree.
Disney decides that it can't make any more money, they're not going to sell it. They're going to lock it away in a vault, and it will never be released again until it becomes
But
public domain.
but but Disney's primary purpose is not to be prideful and not to be entertaining, but to be profitable. And so I don't think that locking away in a vault forever is realistic. I think locking it away in a vault with some kind of strategy, with the intention as each passing years go by to consider, is it time? Can we turn this thing into a money-making engine again? Every single year that question gets asked, and when the answer is yes, the vault gets open. There
I
is no,
suspect
I'm burying this forever because I don't care about money anymore. That definitely is not a thing.
I suspect that if they locked it in a vault, then the soonest we could expect them to make a movie again would be 20
But
years.
let's talk about what 20 years is. That's a generation. That's the
Yeah,
difference.
yeah.
They got a generation to go by, and then the sentiments change, the technology changes. So and ultimately it's I hate to say it. I wish it was about storytelling and mythology and about crowd pleasing, but ultimately it's about making money. So as soon as it goes from a I don't know what we're doing wrong and we can't seem to make money on this to I think we have the dream team now, and I think the boiling water has cooled down a little bit. So I think we can make money on this. As soon as that line gets passed, there's no reason why a profit hungry company like Disney would not resurrect that IP, whether it's 4 years after the vault is closed or 20 years after the vault is closed. But I would definitely put 20 as the max because that's a full generation. That's enough time for babies to become parents.
Yeah. So now we get to the part where Poe mutinies against Holdo. That's where we were, right?
Yep,
Well,
yep,
we
yep.
because we had
After
talked
the
about that.
destruction of the
Yeah,
books and after the
yeah,
conversation with Kylo. Wait, did we
yeah.
skip the Snoke death scene?
No, no, that hasn't happened yet.
Okay, 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 okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, this movie actually something that I notice every single time I watch it, and something else that I think contributes to the length of our conversation is this movie is jam packed. Like whether you like it or don't like it,
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah,
much happens in this
absolutely
movie.
agree. Yeah, it's it's
Every
it's packed.
every
It's
time I
fast paced.
watch the movie, every time I watch it, we get to a certain point in the movie where I feel like we're kind of drawing to a close, and then I realize, oh shit, we haven't even done this yet. This movie just keeps going. Um, but I like that, and I guess you didn't. In any case, so where we are now is Poe openly mutinies against
Whoa,
Holdo
whoa,
because
whoa, whoa, whoa.
whoa, whoa,
You're
whoa.
not you don't get to get away with that. You can't get away
Oh,
with that. It's I never said I didn't like the fact that it was fast paced. That's not
oh no,
even
no, no.
something I
I
ever insinuated.
that's not what I'm saying. I just
Okay.
you don't like the movie,
I
or
don't like
at
the
least
movie,
you.
but I do recognize that it is very fast paced, and like all Star
Yeah,
Wars movies, it is jam packed with action and new interesting things to see
yeah,
and things to talk about, which is why we're talking about it so much, which is why this conversation is taking so long.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
No, I'm not saying that part of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so Poe openly mutinies against Holdo because she's being secretive about the plans. Um, and he's of course basing this on waiting for Finn and Rose, who are still, I believe at this point they are on the they're on the Star Destroyer, the First Order Star Destroyer. I don't remember
Yes.
which one. Oh, is it the Radis? According to Wikipedia, it's the Radis.
Yeah, we need Wikipedia for this.
Yeah. Um. So they're there and they're looking for the thing, whatever the thing is called, that will disable the ability the First Order has to track the rebels through hyperspace, through light speed. Because that is something we never really mentioned earlier in our discussion, but that's the whole purpose of Finn and Rose going off, is that they're trying to find a way to stop the First Order from tracking them while they go at light speed.
Yeah, and I don't know how much I love that idea. I'm trying to draw on my all my Star Wars lore to find out, like, is like once you get the light speed, have you just lost them? There's plenty of
I
reason
mean,
for that. Like when the Falcon ditches Vader's ship, like Vader does when the Falcon takes off, Vader just turns around and gives up in Empire Strikes Back instead
yeah,
of going track him, So maybe it's not
there
possible
is
to.
some basis that,
I don't
it is
understand
possible.
why. When you
Uh,
have that level of technology, I don't understand why it'd be so hard to track people at light speed. In
that's
Star Trek,
true.
it's just taken for granted, and that's
Yeah.
only 400 years advanced from us.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I never really questioned it because I mean, it's just like there was something else I was thinking of that made sense to me, and now I can't remember uh, what it was. Something that happened. Oh, well, because just like there are, what are they called? There is a certain type of Star Destroyer. I think they were called interditers. They could actually pull ships out of light speed.
Really?
I think that might have
Is this
that
from
might have been
Legends
from
or something?
Legends. That might have been
Yeah.
from Legends.
Because
I really don't
so
remember.
just for the record, I get all that fan fiction. I don't consider any of it part of the Star Wars universe that I know and love from the movies. I know we want to, and in our greatest wishy wishes, we wish that Disney wishes it was true too, but Disney doesn't. So, like, as far as I'm concerned, Star Wars is a movie medium story, and anything in the movies establishes canon to me. And all the other massive piles of comic books and books and fan fictions and everything, like, it's all good stuff, but I don't draw from any of that for lore.
Yeah.
Personally, just personally, I don't. I've read many of the books. I've read many of the comic books. I used to play Star Wars, the role playing game. And if you start playing a role playing game about any fantasy world, you get really immersed in the workings of how things go and stuff. If you're the game master playing a Star Wars role playing game and somebody is traveling at light speed and you are wondering whether the Empire can track them, these are the kind of questions that you ask. But I just feel like things get really muddled when you're just like, hey, if it says Star Wars on the label, then it must be true. And then you throw all that together, and all of a sudden you got a real schizophrenic universe that doesn't agree with itself because there's a lot of conflicting ideas.
Oh, yeah, here it is.
What are you
No,
looking
it's
up?
Canon Interdictor, and it's
Okay.
a Imperial class Star Destroyer that had gravity well projectors that could create a gravity well, which would prevent ships from jumping into hyperspace.
Interdictor is the name
Yeah.
of it.
Yep.
And it's canon because it was in which movie?
Let me see. Oh, here we go. Appearances.
Oh, I've seen these. They're the ones with the big, half domes. There's like four huge. It looks
Yeah.
like a regular Star Destroyer, but it's got big half dome like blisters on the top surface. I think I've seen these in a video game. I want to say
No, it
Force
looks like
Unleashed.
apparently, according to Wikipedia, they have not appeared in video games. They appeared in Vader Immortal, Episode 1, which is considered canon because it
Vader
happened.
Immortal. Is that the VR game?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that was because that was official, considered canon because it was after Disney had bought Star Wars. There was an
Hmm.
indirect mention of it in Heir to the Jedi, which I
In the
guess was a
book?
book. Yeah, and
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Hidden Empire 1, which is
Okay, well
also a book
that's
that
really
happened.
pushing the definition of canon, but okay.
Yeah. Well,
What's your point? Oh, we were talking about tracking people at light speed. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, if
but it
they can
doesn't.
pull,
I don't get the impression that even these track people at light speed. It sounds like they just suppress light speed from happening.
yeah, I thought that they pulled ships out of light speed, but I guess not. Well, that was a complete rabbit trail that was unnecessary. In
It's all
any
right.
case, so they've been trying to stop the ships from tracking them, and Poe has finally had it. So he instigates a mutiny against Holdo and takes her prisoner. And that's when we get to the scene where Kylo brings Rey in front of, well, more like Rey surrenders to Kylo. She has left Luke. She feels like she needs to confront Kylo Ren. So she leaves Luke and goes to him and surrenders herself, and he takes her in front of Snoke. And
Yes.
Snoke basically is taunting her, and she's, saying that she's underestimating him. A lot of it is similar to the scene where Luke and Vader are in the presence of the Emperor, but of course it doesn't go the same way. Um, and after belittling Kylo Ren one too many times, Kylo Ren kills Snoke, cuts
Yeah,
him in
well,
half.
this is where we find out how much our Snoke theory sucks.
Yeah.
And it really is an exciting scene. If you're just 4 years old and you've never seen Star Wars before, if you're just coming to the theater and sitting down at this moment, it really is exciting. If you put it in context of the whole story and you realize how much buildup there is to this mysterious character, there's so many things about this scene that's really hard to swallow. But all by itself, I will admit it is a really cool moment, mainly because I don't know, it's the reason why Return of the Jedi is my favorite movie is because all the bad guys die and all the good guys live, and you see the celebration, everybody lives happily ever after. That's a good way to sucker me into liking something. And in
Yeah.
this case, this is the moment where Kylo looks like he is the ultimate threat and that he's threatening our main character and that we have no idea how she's going to escape because she's deep behind enemy lines at this point and that's a good place to bring your audience to as a storyteller when you have that darkest before the dawn moment where there's no hope. And every good story has this. You can Return of the Jedi is a good example where like you see the rebel pilots just dying left and right, and you see the Ewoks dying left and right, and they're overwhelming odds. And then suddenly the Death Star wakes up and starts blowing away capital ships, and there's no way out of this. That's a great story moment to arrive at where you have you are biting your nails because there is no escape from this. And then in that moment, you see what I was hoping for since the moment I first saw Kylo Ren, which is to find out that there is goodness in him and that there's a certain line that he won't cross. True evil will not find a line that it will not cross. Kylo finds this line that he won't cross, and all of a sudden he goes from being the enemy of our main character to the ally of our main character, and seeing him and Rey fight back to back, side by side, seeing this clearly twisted, evil, blasphemous character. I guess he was cloned. I don't know, whatever vat he crawled out of. He was a gross looking character that was not normal, not an alien race, probably artificial, somebody who was channeling dark side energy of some kind. I don't know. We're not given enough of Snoke to hate him, except for the fact that he's really, really gross looking and clearly working for the bad guys. So, but to see him suddenly be killed is satisfying, and to see Kylo turn against his master and ally with our main character is very satisfying. And even the lightsaber duel with the guards, despite its many choreographic snafus, is a fun and satisfying thing to see, and it changes the nature of the story. It changes the entire direction of the story in one scene. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of complaining and a little bit of complimenting I'd like to make about this scene.
Yeah, I liked it because I did enjoy the fact that it completely surprised me. It came out of nowhere. I really thought that Snoke was going to turn out to be the main bad guy of the whole thing. And I thought that Kylo Ren was going to turn out to be a good guy. And I got half of that because Snoke actually dies in the second movie. And then he doubly surprised me with Kylo Ren because Kylo Ren fought with Rey against Snoke's guards, and it seemed like he was going to be a good guy. But then he turns around and tells Rey, "I'm going to be the new bad guy," and he wants her to join him. And of
Which is
course,
always the problem with the Sith. You know,
yeah,
it's not really a redemption on the part of Kylo. It's really kind of a Sith fulfillment on the part of Kylo, where it's
Yeah,
like, no, no, I didn't just rescue you. I'm making my bid to take over the master so that I can be the master.
yeah. I mean,
So
that's how the Sith work.
little disappointing in that sense, but it's accurate to the Sith. So I
Yeah,
will give credit where credit is due.
yeah.
Also, in this case, and this may not be the only example really, but certainly this is the greatest example in The Last Jedi of, okay, Ryan wants to subvert expectations. In this case, maybe with the proper build-up, this would have been a really good moment for Ryan to subvert expectations. I
Hmm.
think that JJ, this is just, one of many elements where JJ set it all up. And, JJ's got that whole mystery box thing. That's a whole nother conversation. JJ really knows how to present the mystery box. He does not know how to put anything in it when you finally open it. He doesn't know how to open the mystery box. Don't even get me started on Lost. That was so frustrating. Every single episode of Lost, he opened up a new mystery and it made everybody further and further and further on the edge of their seats. And then ultimately, he didn't answer anything.
Yeah,
Ultimately, he didn't give anybody what they wanted.
I
And that
never
is
saw
J
Lost.
that is JJ.
Yeah,
I think that how he became the big name that he became, I do not understand because he had exactly 50% of what it took to make a good story. He knew how to set up a mystery, had no idea how to satisfy the audience with it. And
mm,
so in this case, we didn't get any resolution on Snoke, but Ryan set out to subvert our expectations. And sometimes when in a key moment like this, when the bad guy suddenly turns into the good guy, when the ultimate threat suddenly turns out to be no threat at all, that's a shocking moment that makes theater fun. And so, properly done, this could have been one of those moments that may have, really got me stoked about The Last Jedi. It's just that I see it as one more way that JJ handed him the mystery box, and then instead of opening it and coming up with his own answer for what was inside, he just set it on the floor, stomped on it, and then took a piss on it. And the whole audience is like, "What are you doing? We wanted to know what was in that thing." And Ryan is just giggling and laughing because he's like pissed everybody off. This going back to the very beginning of this conversation, that's the thing I don't understand about Ryan's approach. I feel like this could have been a great scene, but all I can really see it as is him pissing on at what everybody anticipated. And I,
yeah,
I think subverting expectations and disrespecting your audience and pissing on what they love should be two different things, don't you think?
yeah. I agree.
Yeah, yeah,
And looking at it from, now that I know that he like held up that sign, that does annoy me about him because I thought this scene was done great because it surprised me and that I thought was a good thing. But
I think
seeing
we
it
deserve
through,
to at least know who Snoke was before we see him be cut in half. I
yeah,
I think
I agree.
that's my only complaint. I needed to know the answer to the mystery box before you resolve it. But Ryan was just like, I don't care. I don't know. I didn't ask JJ. I could give a shit what you guys think because all you're thinking sucks anyway. So I'm just going to kill this guy so we can move on with the story.
Yeah.
Whoa, whoa,
But this
whoa,
is
whoa.
but this is
That's not
again,
really forgivable.
it's also like what he does with Ray's parents.
Yes. Well, he
Her
does that
parents,
with many, many things.
yeah.
This is just a really obvious classic example. That's all.
Yeah, but it was set up in the first movie that I mean in The Force Awakens that her parents like we didn't know who they were, but she must be someone because she's a Jedi or she's got Jedi powers and they're hinting that there's something special about her parents and then this is the scene where Kylo tells her her parents were insignificant junkers who sold her for
Yeah.
drinking money.
Which I don't even know is true. Like that came from
Well,
Kylo.
we know it's not
So
true. We know it's not true because they tell us who they were in the
what
next movie.
even when I first heard it, I wasn't really convinced that it was true because frankly, if it comes from an evil character, I don't know if I can believe it at all. I mean, Kylo's going to say whatever he thinks he needs to say to manipulate Rey into being or thinking or doing whatever he wants her to do. So yeah, it seemed like that was more of a poisonous thing to tell her to sort of strip her of any sense of propriety or belonging
Yeah,
or
I don't know if anyone like
hereditary authority.
before the Rise of Skywalker came out, I don't know if anyone actually thought he was telling the truth. I don't know if this was supposed to be considered some big revelation or if or if everyone considered it a tease. But it seemed like at least to me right now, it seems like something where Ryan was saying, No, you thought they were going to be important, but no, they're
Just
actually they really were
just
nothing.
yet another subversion,
Yeah.
and I would say there may be some brilliance in that if you're just like, you know what, this is the person that the force has decided to create a locus on. This is now the intersection of all force power in the universe, and it's because she's Yoda's daughter, or
Mhm.
it's because she was born in a maelstrom, or like maybe instead, if you go, we have no idea why the Force chose her because it turns out she's just nobody. That that could be the beginning of a very brilliant explanation because it turns out, yes, she is the daughter of junkies. Yes, she was a nobody on a desert planet. But what we don't know is whatever it is, like there could be something in that mystery box that comes out. It's like, whoa, that changes my whole view on what the force really is and what it's all about. There could have been a genius move there somewhere, but there wasn't. It was just empty. And it's like if JJ had disres had if JJ had not disrespected Ryan's progress as much as Ryan disrespected JJ's progress, then JJ in the last movie could have picked up where Ryan left off and continued that dialogue because we did not know whether Kylo was telling her the truth or not. Yes, he's evil, so we know he lies, but on the other hand, he's also smart and entrenched and has some inside tracks on things. So maybe he did know, and maybe there was a reason to continue that. But instead, we get JJ setting up the box, we get Ryan crushing the box and giving us a new box, and then we get JJ crushing that box and coming up with his own box. We get the story written three different times instead of feeling like there's a sense of continuity, something we can depend on and build on from movie to movie. So
Yeah,
bad, not working.
I agree. I agree. And then we get um the scene where Leia finally comes back and stops the mutiny. This was the moment we were waiting for in Poe's story. He now learns about Holdo's plan and what it was. And
I just they've already created this dislikable character and they've already killed her. And so coming back, listen, they've already established Poe. We like Poe. He's a
yeah.
hotshot. We like Poe. He is probably the best analog we have in the new movies to Han Solo.
Mhm.
So to have this character that nobody likes who already got killed continuously be defended after she's dead at the expense of Poe's character is problematic, is
Wait, when
enigmatic. I don't understand why we keep whipping this character
wait,
that everyone likes.
I don't follow
Poe
the one part that you said where they repeatedly attack Poe after she dies. I don't
Poe
remember that.
Poe is a hotshot and then he gets punished for it. Poe tries to confront Holdo and he's belittled for it. Poe tries to do what he feels is right and then Leia gets out of bed and zaps him, which by the way was pretty cool. When
Yeah.
she's sitting there with her cane and she just barely could get out of bed, but then she like, stops the rebellion by zapping him. Why we are stopping rebels from rebelling during the rebellion is a whole nother question. But like Poe is our boy and he is doing something that he feels is right. And so we've already seen him belittled. I'm saying continuously whipped. This character is being whipped. I'm not saying whipped as in by a girlfriend. I'm saying
No,
whipped
no, I
with
know, I know.
chains. He is being punished. He's being belittled. We're
Yeah,
taking this
because
character that we love and we're making him less and less and less lovable. We're taking this character we have confidence in and we're being given less and less reasons to have confidence in him. And so
well,
now he's zapped and he's humiliated. And now we're hearing about how Holdo was right all along, and it's continuously whipping him. It's reminding
I
him
thought
how
that was
wrong he
important
was.
because this is the learning moment for him. He needs to realize that what he did was wrong. He was not obeying the chain of command, and it was there for a reason. And if he had followed the chain of command, things would have worked out fine. But he didn't trust her. He didn't like her. He was trying to do his own thing after Leia had told him at the beginning of the movie that he was short sighted because he was. It cost her all of her bombers and a whole bunch of fighters when he insisted on attacking one Star Destroyer instead of thinking of the big picture. And this is another example of that. He was thinking just what was right in front of his nose, and Holdo was looking at the big picture. So this is the learning moment. This is important for Poe because this is where he grows. And later on in the movie, he starts to accept that and he becomes a much bigger and better, more capable leader because he understands that, things are compartmentalized, that he didn't need to know the plan. He just needed to follow his orders, and he didn't do that.
Well, that's a fair
At
point.
least that's
Maybe I
what
just
I'm
don't like the
thinking.
fact that maybe I don't like it's like if we went back to the original trilogy and we all fell in love with Han Solo and he's got his smirk and he's got his chip on his shoulder, but then starting in the second movie, he just starts getting punked by everybody he meets. And he starts doing some things that are really stupid and we can't really get behind it. And like why do we even have this character? Like it's just bad storytelling. Like when you build a character and you get people cheering for him and then you humiliate him repeatedly, the audience begins to wonder why you even brought him in the story in the first place. Like, this fool is just causing a thorn in everyone's side. Can we please just get rid of him and move on to the rest of these characters? Because every single one of these other characters have not yet humiliated themselves. So, but I do get what you're saying. We had this conversation about dynamic characters. Poe is being a dynamic character. This is a learning moment. I accept that. And maybe in the end, I just am upset about the fact that I was made to like this character like everybody else. And why are you whipping this character that you trained me to like?
Yeah.
That's all. It's just
Well,
a real simple audience pleasing sort of storytelling 101 kind of point.
yeah, and it might I kind of agree with you because Holdo is not likable, and maybe they should have made her more likable over the course of her story. But what we were saying before, and I still like it, is the coolness of her sacrifice. Not only does she save, what she does is an act that saves the rebellion, the resistance, who would have been destroyed by the First Order if she hadn't done it, but also people complain about the once again the unrealism of jumping into light speed and destroying a bunch of other ships.
I don't think people are complaining about the unrealism. I definitely gotta have a contention with this. If they were complaining about the unrealism of Leia floating through space, that's another conversation, and we already had
Yeah,
that. But in this case, it's not the fact that it's unrealistic; it's the fact that it's absolutely freaking lore breaking. It absolutely changes the nature of every other battle in the Star Wars universe that came before it. And
why?
and for obvious reason. What do you mean why? You must not be that dumb. You know exactly why because you've heard a million people make the point and you've got enough brains to know exactly why. Because if you could take a ship and shove it into light speed, then there's no reason for any of these dumb battles anymore. You don't even need to sacrifice yourself like a martyr. You just tell the machine to go, and then you take the escape pod, you put a droid in the cockpit, and boom, one TIE fighter, one X-Wing fighter should have been able to take out the Death Star. Why this huge loss of life? Every single battle that's ever happened in the Star Wars galaxy happens with light speed capable craft. If every single one of them are capable of being living bombs, there is no reason for any wars in the stars because every single one of them would have been instantly ended by this move. Lore breaking. How
I
can you
I
deny that?
I don't know. It didn't strike me as
What
lore
part of
breaking.
what I just said do
No,
you not
I
know?
guess I hadn't considered it, but like
Really? You've never heard anybody online say this? Because it's pretty much a universal sentiment.
no, I never really asked anyone.
Oh,
That's why
okay.
I asked you. I really
Okay. All
never
right.
thought
Fair
of it.
enough. Fair
Uh,
enough. I
you
watch a lot of commentary and I definitely do not fall for it all.
know,
I am definitely not the I'm on board with everyone else lemming thinking. I have a lot of my own opinions about Star Wars that are absolutely against the natural flow of thought on the internet. But as far as the Holdo lightspeed maneuver thing goes, it seems like everybody's pretty much cooking on the same page. And I've heard it so many times ad nauseum. I never really needed to hear it because right off the bat in the theater, I was thinking that, like, holy shit, that changes the nature of every battle that's ever happened in the Star Wars universe.
I don't know. I mean, it still seems like foolhardy to destroy a ship intentionally
Oh,
to
I
end
see.
up.
Well, what's better than that is to get into a long-term battle where dozens or hundreds of ships get blown up
Yeah, I get it. I understand what you're
intentionally.
saying. I
Yeah,
understand what
yeah,
you're
yeah,
saying, but
yeah.
I guess it just didn't occur to me. I
Okay.
thought that the visual looked really cool, and that's
Oh, the
like,
visual looks cool. No argument there. The visual looks very cool. And I will even go one step further and say it does make sense. It makes perfect sense. In fact, it harkens back to Han's first challenge to Luke when Luke's
yeah,
like, "Hurry up," and Han's like, "Dude, we got to wait for the calculation, otherwise you're going to be floating home."
yeah.
That that makes perfect sense. I have no argument about this not making sense. I have argument about the fact that once you show it on screen, everything that came before it becomes questionable, invalidated even.
I
The way that you fix that is by giving Holdo command of a prototype ship that has some kind of capacity that no other ship has ever had before it. And even then, you're now challenging every single battle after that because it's like once that works the first time, then everybody in the galaxy is like, well, shit, that's what we need from now on. But at least it preserves everything that came before it. So
well,
just like the what did you call it, the Invictor class or whatever, like that was
interdictor, yeah.
the interdictor class. Like that thing had a capacity that nobody had ever had before. In many of the tense moments that we have in the Star Wars story and in the Star Wars galaxy, if that thing had been present, that tense moment would have been over because that Star Destroyer would have had full control over what's going on. And once
Well,
you have that moment, then you have to bring up the question, why the hell don't they all have that? So that
yeah.
that is where I put this. That's the category I put this into.
I guess, yeah, I agree that they should have made it like a prototype ship. They should have said there was something on it
That's
or
all it
something,
would have taken. And
and
and it
and
would have
and
and it would have
and
satisfied all the complaining that everybody made online.
and it would have also been easy to say it's a prototype, but it's also like so difficult that this is the only ship that's ever going to have it, or at
Yeah,
least,
that would have been even better. Yes, agreed.
yeah.
Yep.
So,
And if that had happened, I think that would have been a spectacular moment. I
yeah,
really do. Like I don't like Holdo, and I'm not sure you're going to make me like Holdo, but
I'm
that
not
would
trying
have.
to.
I'm just saying in general, anybody, not just you, Josh.
Yeah,
But I do appreciate greater love has no man than this, than someone that would lay down his life for his friends. I think that all of my sentiment at Holdo would have been softened and modified slightly by the fact that in the end she chose to give up her life. Why didn't she put a droid there? Well, because this is a prototype ship. It has no escape pods. Why didn't she just put it on auto and leave with the rest of the rebels? Well, because she loved him so much that she wanted to make sure that this worked. Wow, the same exact visual moment works now because you have a once in a lifetime ship that's capable of doing something that no other ship has been capable of doing, and you have a self-sacrificing hero that's willing to give up her own life to save her friends. Changes the nature of the thing entirely.
yeah.
And
Well,
that would have
if
been
anyone,
and that would have been easy to do, wouldn't you say? And that would have
yeah,
been easy to write into the
a
script.
very easy, yeah, yeah. Well, so for what it's worth, I mean, I know that we don't have very many subscribers or very many listeners right now, but if anyone at Disney actually listens to this, maybe an episode that takes place between then and now where they do mention this
Oh
is a
man,
prototype ship.
that's a damn good idea. They're making all kinds of shorts on Disney Plus that have some really amazing little tidbits of backstory for different things, and many of them have those. Oh, that's why that happened kind of
Yeah.
moments. That would be a perfect short to make that would put to rest all of this internet arguing about it.
Okay. Well,
I
then
I I hope they do that.
all of the people who are listening, all like 15 of you, get the message out. This is what
Somebody
we
get
want.
on the horn. Tell Disney how it's done.
I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a shareholder. I don't think they're even going to listen to
Well,
me.
I would say on one hand, if Disney likes what they did, that's fine. If Disney's satisfied with who they hired, that's fine. If Disney doesn't notice the lore problem, that's also fine. But if Disney is caring about their audience and they're listening to their audience, and suddenly 99% of their audience is going, you can't do that because blah, 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 then a good entertainer would go, okay, you bunch of morons and racists, I hate your guts, but I want to make money off of you. So I see the problem, and all I have to do is just write a script and produce a 10 freaking minute special on Disney Plus. And I'm gonna put it out there, and then believe me, as soon as that thing goes live, it goes viral. 2,000 people make videos about it on YouTube, and it begins to become a conversation among the fans that, oh, okay, now we understand this was a unique moment. It doesn't invalidate all the lore that came before it. It's a unique moment. That would fix the problem. But it's
Yeah.
just because that doesn't exist, it's one more indication that Disney just doesn't care about the audience, which is a painful thing to have to say. Because if you're a Broadway performer, you love the audience. If you're a rock star, you love the audience. This is an ancient process of entertainers. This is part of their ethics. You care about the audience. You don't have to do what the audience says. That's usually a problem. But when the audience doesn't like what you're doing, you do have the ability, if not the obligation, to be able to redirect your art a little bit to give them what they're asking for, especially if you're trying to pick their pockets. So this is just one of those real simple things that Disney should have thought about without us having to come up with it for them, because responding to the audience is a part of entertaining the audience and keeping the hook in the mouth of all those people that are fans of your IP. And this
Yeah.
is something that people have been complaining about for years now. And there have been, I don't even know, I'm not even counting, but there's dozens and dozens of these little 10, 15, 20-minute shorts on Disney Plus, and one of them could have nipped this in the bud just like that.
Yeah. Although, like, not for nothing, Rogue One addressed a 20-year-old question when it came out, which was, why was the Death Star blown up with a single torpedo?
Yeah.
It took them that long, but and I sent you that video, the one that came before Rogue One, the little animated video of the
Oh
Death
yeah,
Star
yeah.
designer. I think
Yes.
that's hilarious, but Rogue One gives us an even better explanation. So, who knows if maybe Disney really didn't think of it. Now we've given them the idea. Hmm.
Well, obviously Disney didn't think of it. Ryan didn't think of it, and I
Yeah.
would say personally, I don't mean to be cynical, but I chalk that up to the fact that Ryan really wasn't a Star Wars fan and didn't probably, this is a plague among many Hollywood movie makers today, but they don't really have their fingers too much in the pie of reality. In other words, like when Star Trek was first created, it was created by ex-military people and actual engineers. And then when Next Generation came out, Michael Okuda and his wife, they had a background in engineering and they wrote engineering manuals on all this technical stuff that was available in the 23rd century. And so Star Trek is very grounded because of that. But nowadays, there are so many scientific and technical and engineering snafus in stories, and that the general audience doesn't even see because our blanket IQ is just plummeting. But in some cases, if a real fan were to look at this before they film it and go, we can't do that because it will make the Death Star battle seem pointless. And then if a science person goes, well, this is something that very well could happen, but this is how we can make it work, then you have what we, I think, commonly would refer to as an intelligent script, quote unquote. But we do have a lot of unintelligent writing that's going on because of the general obvious limitations of these writers and movie makers. They know their medium. They know their medium. They're well read sometimes. They may know their history. They understand their philosophy. They understand their own political camp very well. They understand, of course, the science of movie making. The artists and designers that are in charge of all this stuff are some of the greatest in the world. I am not in any way trying to disrespect the amazing amount of talent it takes to make a sophisticated movie like this. I'm just saying that the fact that it slipped by and pissed the internet off is an indication that they didn't really have their feet in the Star Wars world when they did this, which is a big problem that I have with people that do IP, and they do it because they're great movie makers or because they're paid great checks, but they don't do it because they have a true love for the media, not the medium, but the IP itself.
Yeah.
And then the fact that the people have been complaining about this for so long and making a very valid point about it, and Disney has just basically given them crickets, is a further indicator that Disney really doesn't care about pleasing the audience. Those two things put together are toxic for a profitable media company to increase its profits. And that is something I personally wish, and I know you and I are on the same page here. You and I both wish Disney the best of success. And we want to see Star Wars be the most profitable thing ever so that they make more and more and more of it. And so
Mm.
the fact that they slipped up on this and the fact that they ignored the audience on it years and years later with the capacity to be able to fix the problem in retrospect, is just sort of the lethal combo that is causing Star Wars to cost Disney more money than it's making them.
Yeah, but I do
I'm
wonder if, again, it might be something that it's completely out of Disney's hands. This things are different now than they were when Rogue One came out. But Rogue One came out and people accepted that as a reasonable reason why a single proton torpedo could blow up the Death Star. They were perfectly fine with it, even though it was very obvious that the whole reason the movie existed was because without it, the Death Star thing didn't make sense. So I wonder if people are so jaded now that if they did make a short or even a full movie to explain why the ship that Holdo was on had this prototype weapon on it, I think people would I wonder if people would accept it and start thinking the movie was better, or if they would say, oh, they only made that because we were complaining about this and I still hate them. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
yeah, there's definitely an warranted level of toxicity on the internet from the fans. And I feel like because of the sort of collective nature of the internet, sort of our unfortunate lemming mentality where the whole crowd is stampeding in this direction, so I'm going to stampede in this direction. It's a really good way to start a wildfire. Like, humanity right now, because of the internet, is kind of like a forest fire. You have to be careful where you start that fire because it will fan itself into flames until it gets to the point where people are thinking things that they don't really mean. They're saying things they don't really mean. They're thinking things that are super exaggerated, but it's only exaggerated because it's reinforced by everything everybody else is thinking. And once upon a time, you could actually just live in your head, but now you live in everybody else's head, and everybody else lives in your head, and that has become that sort of unity is a good thing, but it's also become a lethal combination for fan groups who get, whipped up into excitement and then whipped up into disappointment, and then eventually you end up getting to the point where you've got toxicity on a level that is totally unwarranted. And that's something I do sympathize Disney has to deal with. They bit this giant chunk off called Star Wars, and they're dealing with people that are extremely passionate about it, and they're also struggling against the stream of the sociological impact of the internet putting everybody on the same page. So they've got, I think after a while, you start hearing. Have you ever seen some of the videos where like, celebrities like Daisy are reading like mean tweets, like the horrible things that people say about people that they don't mean. I mean, even in the course of this conversation, I've actually checked some Facebook posts that I've seen where people are just they come out with incredibly unwarranted things and they say horrifying things that they don't know me from anyone, but they go ahead and assume because they're hiding behind their plastic screen and they can go ahead and stab everybody with daggers because they themselves are having a hard time or they're going through a divorce or whatever it is. And after a while, if you're Disney, you kind of begin to tune it out. I think, and I sympathize with that. Or worse, you begin to vilify all those people that call themselves quote unquote Star Wars fans. And I can see how you do that just to protect yourself, just to be able to turn around as an artist and get back to work creating art and not feel all bummed and depressed that your whole audience is throwing rotten fruit at you. So I sympathize with the crowd because we want to be entertained and we want to be entertained well. And I sympathize with the story makers too because they deserve the applause. They don't deserve the rotten fruit.
Hmm.
Wouldn't it be nice if we lived in a world where we were all just mutually supportive?
Yeah,
How
well,
about that? How about
I would
that? Is
love
that is
that,
that
but
is that a revolutionary idea or what?
well, it is, but even on other things that have nothing to do with Star Wars, even you and I disagree about so much, and we're
But
friends about it.
disagree. Yeah, of course. Disagreeing and being supportive are two different things. I'm
Yeah,
very supportive of you, and you're very supportive of me, and we disagree on a lot of things.
yeah. Okay, so one thing that did bother me though, that comes right after that, with when Holdo goes into Lightspeed and destroys the fleet, it interrupts the execution of Finn and Rose.
Hmm.
And that's fine. Like I'm okay with that. Then there's a cool battle and they have to escape, and that's all good too. My problem is how they dispose of Phasma. And it's just because Phasma is another character that I thought would be interesting
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to know more about why she's in this chrome stormtrooper suit. I know that there's been some stuff written about her. She appears in books and stuff, but I don't really know what it is. Um, but I want to know more about her in the movie. We never even saw her
Yeah,
without the helmet.
absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, we've never seen a female in a stormtrooper armor before. We presume that there are many, but we've never seen one before or since.
Yeah.
So what's so special about this lady? Why is she wearing the only silver armor we've ever seen? Like, we get no answers, we get no backstory, and then she's dead. Same
Yeah.
thing as Snoke. Yeah.
Yeah, and also that it's in the second movie. I was so sure that they were going to bring her back in the third movie and reveal that she hadn't died in the fire because
Hmm.
like it just seemed
It
so
seemed
anticlimactic.
pretty absolute the way they killed her. Like there was
Yeah,
no coming, but it is the Star Wars universe, so
yeah.
you can get cut in half and come back. So
Yeah, I mean, she could have come back horribly burned, but wearing the chrome armor, it protected her. I don't know.
we
Yes,
don't
it
know who
did
she
seem,
was. For all she knows, she
yeah,
could have formed a force field around her because she's a force user. We know nothing about her
yeah.
character.
I,
For all we know, she could have been a freaking robot, and they could have transferred her consciousness to another robot, and she's
yeah.
back.
Yeah, like I really when she died in this movie, I thought that we were still going to see her again in the next movie just because it seemed so anticlimactic. It happened really quickly
Yep.
and without any explanation as to who she was. After two movies, I knew nothing about her. So that was a complaint I have. As much as I like a lot of this movie, that was something that I did complain about. Um, and but still, I don't know how I feel about what they say either. She says that Finn is scum, and he says that he's rebel scum, and I guess that's supposed to be a little wink to the fans because of the line in Return of the Jedi. But
Hmm.
what does that have to do with Finn? Like, why does Finn know that? But I mean,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
nitpicky
yeah.
thing.
Agreed. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a nitpicky thing, but I get it. Like it's almost like again, it's sort of like as a true fan, it's almost like you're watching somebody who isn't a fan take like a cursory glance of the movies and then try to give you something he thinks you're going to get a kick out of. I'm not saying that was it. I'm saying that's what it feels like. That's why it bothers you
yeah.
because you
Well,
know that's not a proper use of that line, but it is a line. So,
yeah.
like, again, it's another indication that I think Ryan probably wasn't an actual Star Wars fan.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's not enough of a complaint for me to say like, oh, I was angry about that. It's very nitpicky. I barely care about
And
it,
I know
but it
JJ
is,
wasn't a Star Wars fan, just like I know Michael Bay wasn't a Transformers fan before they paid him $30 million to make a Transformers movie. I don't understand why this is a trend in Hollywood. It is a bad idea. If you're going to give somebody an original idea, go for it. If you're going to give somebody an idea that's been around for a generation or more, you better find somebody who loved that thing since it started. That's the kind of person that you want to actually create more of that thing.
yeah. But that's how I felt about Phasma's death.
Yeah,
And
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 once again, I hate to be a broken record, but once again, I feel like this is yet another of dozens of examples in The Last Jedi of Ryan going, "Oh, you like that thing? Watch this," and throw it
yeah,
on the floor and stomp on it and piss on it right in front of you, giggling because he thinks that subverting your expectations is more important than pleasing you. Subverting your expectations is more important than telling a good story. Subverting your expectations is more important than making money, apparently. I it boggles my mind. I swear to God, I am still trying to figure it out. I don't know him. I can't call him. I can't psychoanalyze him, but it boggles my mind how this ever happened. And I'm trying to figure it out. And if you try hard enough, long enough, you end up resorting to some very logical conclusions that make you go, nah, that couldn't be it. You know? Because, like, the logical conclusion is what I said in the very beginning of this conversation. He hates Star Wars fans. That's the logical conclusion. I'm not saying it's true. The logical, rational conclusion, and I cannot find another, is that he hates Star Wars fans and they gave him the magic ticket that he could use to slap every single one of us in the face. And then when he's done, he made so much money, he doesn't even have to worry about having another movie gig for the rest of his life. He's set. And
I
that, like,
would
I seriously hope that's not true, but I have no other rational alternative to that.
I would love to have him as a guest on this show so that we could ask him. I would be completely respectful. I would like to think that we would both be
I
completely
would
respectful.
absolutely be professional if you got that chance. And I have some very good, I think I'd have to be very careful about how I ask them. It is just a movie. and he might have shit on my favorite science fiction franchise, but it's just a movie, and I think I can be professional about asking questions. But I also guarantee that he's already been asked these questions 1,000 times. He's probably dead sick of hearing them. Yeah, he will always have a lawyer's answer for you, to a practiced lawyer's answer for you, in order to give you the answer that you need to shut up, but not the answer that you need to be satisfied.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. Next week, we will be back to continue our discussion on Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. In the meantime, as always, please remember, make tomorrow better than yesterday.